Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
I'm here to save the day. I'm here to save the day.
Soon I will be invincible. Because comics.
Welcome to Because Comics. This is episode 42. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host, the misspelled Mike Crystal Pantson.
Hey, I'm apparently Mike Crystal Pantson.
Mike Crystal Pantson, it's always great to have you back on the podcast.
Yes.
How have things been?
Well, I've had crystals for pants.
Oh, always those crystals in your pants.
It's weird because yesterday I didn't have crystal pants, but now I've always had crystal pants.
But you've always been Crystal Pants.
What? What's happening?
It's coming loose. It's coming loose off of his head. Someone secure it back on there. Hold on.
Crystal Pantson, how's it
Yeah,
going?
Crystal Pantson. Should we say your real name?
Hey guys, it's Mike Christensen.
It's Mike Christensen, guys. But sometimes with the slug on your head, you know.
What?
You look a lot like that Crystal Pantson guy.
I don't see it.
Some people, do they confuse you with him sometimes?
With Crystal Pantson?
Yeah. I mean, he's big these days.
I should. We can only hope.
Yeah. We don't need to tell anybody about who Crystal Pantson is.
He needs no introduction.
He needs no introduction. Speaking of no introduction, guys, let's talk about comics. Because we should do that at some point.
This is ostensibly a comics podcast.
It is.
Not an intelligible nonsense podcast.
Right. Good point. So, guys, at the top of each of our episodes, we talk about our polls, our poll list, guys.
Jay, what comics are you reading these days? What should we be reading?
Well, I'm reading right now from Image is Plutona. Plutona is written by Jeff Lemire and drawn by Emmy Lenox. And guys, it is a gorgeous piece of work just from start to finish. It's a 5-issue series run. It's happening right now. There's only about 2 issues out as of this recording. And right out the gate, we've got Jeff Lemire writing it, who right away is amazing. He's known for having a lot of successful comics.
I think we've talked about him a couple times.
Yeah. And Emmy Lenox is a newcomer just right out the gate. I mean, you can already tell from her art on the series she's going to be a hot commodity going forward. I mean, several of the panels of this comic I could quite literally see hanging in my living room. It's amazing. And as far as the story for Plutona, it's almost entirely character focused, which I've done a lot of. Some of these polls lately have been like very heavily character focused comics, but oftentimes like some of these comics I think I talked about like with Paper Girls, like there's a lot of depth to these characters, and for this in particular sometimes it feels a bit like Stand By Me, Breakfast Club, specifically Breakfast Club because there are 5 main characters which are kids, and the dialogue between the 5 kids is pretty amazing because Jeff does a really good job of capturing, you know, what kids are typically like, because in a lot of comics sometimes kids are just like, hey, gee willikers, miss, or maybe not gee willikers, but you know what I mean,
or
like,
they talk like grown-ups,
or they talk like grown-ups really, and they don't. This kids are, you know, in real life they're pretty terrible sometimes and pretty terrible to each other, and this comic definitely doesn't shy away from that and does a really good job of strangely not making anybody likable from the start of the first comic. Okay, yeah, let me clarify. So like not immediately like this is the goody two-shoes kid, or like this is like the lead and we're gonna follow him. Like the comic opens in the first issue following these 5 different kids all simultaneously, like as they leave their house to go to school in the morning. And it's cool to see the different environments of each of them, but again, no one of those kids is stand out as the lead or like insert yourself here in this character and come along this journey. Now out the gate, you know, you could probably drop these 5 kids into traditional archetypes with like the nerd, there's like a weirdo, there's like a jock type kid sort of, and like today's age type of jock. He's not like walking around in like football gear being like, hey, but but
as everyone did.
As everyone,
so Fonzie, we basically
Fonzie.
Your ideas have not changed since Fonzie.
Yeah, right. I'm actually from the 50s. But as
explains so little.
So it does. But what's interesting is like as the series also unfolds, what's pretty cool is these people that are considered, you know, you could plot them in archetypes to start, they start to break out of that mold as their character development is almost as pivotal or more pivotal and more surprising than even the story itself. Like just their character developments is almost like a story unto itself in a way. Like it creates shocking moments, which is, I don't know, it's pretty unique and pretty cool.
Yeah, it's rare you have that in comics.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I mean, I guess I should probably talk about the story at some point. So I mentioned earlier that this is basically kind of like a Stand By Me Breakfast Club. Well, it's a lot like Stand By Me because these characters actually in the woods, when they're walking through after school, they find a dead body, but it's more comic booky because the dead body is the dead body of a superhero.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So superheroes are a thing.
Superheroes are a thing. I buried the lead on that one a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I was going to say.
Actually, one of the characters in the book is what's called a cape tracker, I believe it's cape.
Oh, interesting.
Cape tracker, yeah. So it's a kid with and it's cool because they do it they play it up like kids go on social media and go on and track coordinates and times when superheroes leave one place to another, which is fun and interesting because it's kind of like how today with Twitter, when events happen, certain events, whether bad or good, people can go online and at the same time be like, oh, I saw something down on 23rd Street. It's like, I saw a person over here, which is kind of cool. And it adds a little bit more of a current times to what it would be like now if you were tracking superheroes.
It's like a version of the Teen Brigade from the early Avengers, yeah.
Because you would be like, oh, I just saw Superman over here at 6 o'clock, which...
we don't have ham radios anymore. Yeah. And that was... The premise was that even with radios, they can track, the Avengers.
But yeah, so it's really cool. And again, that is kind of the hook of the comic. What happens when you find a dead superhero in the woods? And what do you do next, basically? So that is Plutona, guys. So check it out. And Mike, what is your pull?
My pull is a comic from Vertigo, written by Shaun Simon, art by Mike Allred. It's called Art Ops.
Art Ops.
Art Ops.
You say.
Like art operations.
Okay.
It's a sort of a mother-son story about a woman who's, very devoted to her work, which we'll get to in just a minute.
Okay.
Her son who sort of suffers as a result of being her son and not really being a part of her life until the work sort of brings her into his life.
She is a workaholic.
Yeah, but she has important work. The issue opens with some people breaking into the Louvre.
Of course.
Including the mother.
Oh, okay.
Breaking into the Louvre and taking the Mona Lisa out of her painting and putting her in witness protection.
Oh, jeez. Wow, that got off the rails immediately.
And then putting someone else in as a stand-in.
Okay, so in this comic,
yeah,
actual people in paintings are real and are in danger and need to be put in witness protection.
And there is a character in the book who has a Jackson Pollock painting for an arm.
What?
I kind of don't want to say any more than that.
I mean, you said a lot already.
Only one issue is out so far, and it's bananas. Bananas.
Jeez.
I don't know if I just spelled bananas right.
No one will ever know. But no one has ever successfully spelled bananas, so it's fine.
But it is just a bizarre. I mean, Mike Allred.
It's bizarre, you say? You mean a comic about stealing and not stealing her, but I guess stealing
kind of, but she's okay with it.
Right.
Only one issue's out, and it's really solid. Check it out. I mean, Mike Allred. This is he is born for this book. He does really well with very strange visuals, like paint that just sort of behaves in unusual ways, or
right, of course,
yeah,
or that is an arm,
or
sometimes.
Caricatures of not even caricatures, but representations of the Mona Lisa walking around and
Now, question: do people know that people in paintings are sentient or need to be protected? Is this a known thing, or is this in a regular world, paintings are alive?
Well, no, it doesn't. I mean, if it were, then presumably they would need to break into the Louvre to get her out.
That's true.
There is an inciting incident that sort of kicks off the story and where it's going, and there's some very weird characters introduced. Guys, just check it out. Vertigo Comics, Art Ops.
Wow.
It's a weird one, but it's fun.
I'm definitely going to check that out. All right, guys, so those were our polls, and that'll be taking us into our main segment. Mike, kick things off.
Star Wars, numbers 8 through 10. Han Solo in the Magnificent Seven, basically. A little movie coming out in a couple of weeks. Star Wars.
Star Wars. Is that Hunger Games?
No, it's not.
And James Bond just came out.
I mean, it is Hunger Games, kind of, but it's also not.
Hunger Games, a lot like Star Wars?
I mean, yeah, it is a lot like Star Wars.
I guess it is the hero's journey.
Versus the evil empire, yeah.
That's true.
There's a lot of...
She's got a lightsaber.
No.
What?
That's your fan fiction.
What about no? I confuse it sometimes with real canon.
But it's not the first Star Wars movie to come out. It's the 7th. And back when the first, which was actually the 4th, movie came out.
Yep. Got to make sure we clarify that.
1977, Marvel Comics got to do the adaptation. They did a 6-issue miniseries
of the movie.
Yeah. but they were working off of production stills and the shooting script.
Oh boy.
So it's close.
Oh, really?
It's close, but there's things like there's the scene with Jabba the Hutt that was introduced in the special edition
where it's just a guy in a bunch of like dead fur costumes.
It's not though, because they designed an alien for that, but he's like yellow and he's got like sort of like a rodentish face, but like he's tall. It's an interesting.
You're
like
telling me Jabba could have been a giant rat?
Not a rat. No. More like a lemur face almost. I don't know. It's really hard to describe. He's almost got like rounded bits, like the guy who gets his arm cut off in the cantina. It's just like it's a weird design because it's not a giant slug.
And when they were on set, they were just like, a guy.
Well, the problem was that they were going to replace it with a stop motion alien, but they did not have time or money. They mostly didn't have time or money when they made that movie.
Right.
But they did an adaptation now. The tone of comics is different. So when you break it up into 6 issues, you have things like the cover of the second issue has Luke and Obi-Wan in the cantina surrounded by aliens menacing them and trying to fight them, and Luke shouting, "Swing that lightsaber, Ben, or we're finished!"
Oh,
because
wow.
that's sort of what the covers had to be.
Right, because that's how comics would title those things.
Also, Luke looks a lot like He-Man.
Really?
It's part of it is, I didn't say who wrote it and did the art, but it's Roy Thomas as the writer, who has written a lot of Avengers comics, and Howard Chaykin as the artist, who has a very distinctive style that tends to be very square-jawed and kind of very similar face shapes, but it's not even close to that yet. It is very not his style yet, or if maybe his style has changed to the present day. But like no one looks right, especially because they're modeled after actors. But Luke especially looks like the classic hero, and it's so bizarre.
Especially because we know that's very not the character
and
that
he's
he
almost
is.
got like shoulder-length hair at times, like on the covers. It's very strange.
Does he yell for Eternia and sometimes not wear clothes?
No, although it's weird because like things like the lightsabers are all red because it's just they're all laser swords. Like the colors didn't matter yet. It didn't. They weren't symbolic really yet. But then there was an issue 7. They kept going. They just started making up new stories after issue 6, and issue 7 opened with Han and Chewie going off to pay Jabba, immediately getting robbed by space pirates.
As you do.
Landing on a planet, getting caught up in a random problem, helping a priest bury the body of a cyborg, but no one wanted the body buried. I'll get to that in just a minute. I'm skimming over it a little bit, but they got a few coins out of the deal. The insect man priest sort of not the Force, of some other religion, and he has alien words for father and for son, so we get to have basically the equivalent of Han Solo calling this guy Padre, but it's not Padre, it's like some alien word they made up.
This is what we're skipping over. Holy crap.
We're skipping over this, and like however everyone's...
To be clear, we're skipping over a scene where an insect alien priest had Han Solo.
The whole issue is them getting robbed by space pirates. There's an alien insect priest. Everyone's racist against the cyborg.
And they had to bury a cyborg.
Yep. And then Han and Chewie go to the cantina. They hit on some technicolored women, and then these
as you do
peasants,
in Star Wars.
well, in Star Trek at least. And then these peasants approach Han and they say, "We have a proposition to put forth to you, honored off-worlder. It is a most agreeable proposal, we assure you. Unless, of course, you have an unfortunate aversion to dying." That's issue 7, which I almost talked about. But what's interesting is this story that we're about to talk about, and a little bit the story we just read, is the Magnificent Seven. I don't know if you've ever seen the Magnificent Seven.
Yes.
But it opens
and
with...
every movie based off of that.
Well, like Bug's Life.
Bug's Life based off of Magnificent
Bug's
Seven?
Life is essentially a Magnificent Seven because there's someone coming to the town and taking a
oh my god
tribute every year.
Oh wow.
And then they go to hire heroes to do the job, except in Bug's Life they're not really heroes. For those who don't know, Magnificent Seven, it's Bug's Life, or Seven Samurai, which is the Kurosawa film it's based off of. But it's a Western where it opens with these 3 men from Mexico try to find some place to buy guns so they can defend themselves. They end up finding heroes to defend themselves instead. But the 2 men they first encounter, Steve McQueen and Yul Brynner, are taking the body of a Native American whom no one wants buried in the lot and taking him to the gravesite. So it's very much like the opening scene of... Not the opening scene, but the introduction of those characters of Magnificent Seven.
That's amazing.
But that's not where we're starting. We're starting with issue 8, which is called 8 for Aduba 3. That's the name of the planet.
Okay.
Han is starting to tell these peasants that, of course, he has an aversion to dying, but then this big, lumpy, scaly lizard man grabs him and threatens him for chatting up his girlfriend, who was the blue-skinned girl that Han was about to leave with. They get in a fight, and Han's like cocky, and then he realizes Chewbacca is not right behind him, which is why he was as cocky as he was. He gets thrown across the room, lands in the drink of an ape creature, like lands
In
on
the drink
like
of one?
like on top of it.
Oh,
like
okay.
scatters everything, and the ape creature's like, hey, and it just looks like a monkey, basically, like a gorilla. And this robot with a brain in a jar says, hey, you just messed up my girlfriend's drink.
Oh my god.
And then they're in a little bit of a fight. Han gets punched by the lizard man, lands in Chewie's arms, who quickly takes down the lizard man and pretty much ends the fight.
Right.
Right
'Cause
there.
I mean,
He is a Wookiee.
yeah.
That
And
does the
Wookiees is
job.
what they do.
This is their thing.
Are Wookiees in, like, I don't know if you know this, but, like, are Wookiees just anywhere in the Star Wars universe just, like, seen and recognized as these guys are badasses?
They are. They're also slaves in a lot of places.
Oh, sad.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Han decides to ask the peasants more about this job. They do need a job. I don't know why he's suddenly okay with it, but whatever. We got the bar fight out of
After
the
getting
way.
thrown around this bar fight, I feel pretty good about taking a life or death job.
The peasant was selected to come and recruit a champion by his town. His town needs protecting from a devil and his men. The men are the Cloud Riders, led by Sergei X Argantis, the arrogant one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. They come every year to take tribute from the town, stealing food that the town needs very badly. If the town resists, the Cloud Riders burn the crops and steal the women merely to amuse themselves. Let's just skip right over that.
Yep.
Han agrees to take the job, but wants to recruit other down on their luck spacers to even the odds. So,
Wow.
just like Magnificent Seven, where it's like, we'll hire you two. And they're like, well, but what if we hired more than two people? Because we're fighting a bunch of people.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like good odds.
So, once again, Han goes upstairs and holds auditions, and people just come up one at a time.
Han holds auditions?
So, people are coming one at a time, and, most of them...
Do they know what they're auditioning for?
No. They know they're coming for a job. They know that. They don't know what the job is. The first one we see, apparently he's been through a few who barely know how to hold a blaster. This one who walks in, he's got like a panther. He's like a walking human panther with a little bit of like a mousy face.
Are these like the Panther guys, by the way, there's the series that we talked about previously on a poll called Lando? Is it those Panther people?
No. This one has a bunch of quills he can throw out of his body.
Oh, okay. So he's like a porcupine panther.
Kind of. His name is Neji. He wasn't immediately recognizable, but then like Han's like, oh, I didn't know there were any spiners left in the galaxy.
Spiders.
It's like, all right, cool. The next is a woman named Amaiza.
Yeah, sure.
Amaiza, who was the den mother of the Black Hole Gang and old friends with Han and Chewie. They don't seem animosity at all. Doesn't seem to be.
But they're just kind of like, I know you from somewhere.
Well, they're like, oh yeah, it's our old friend, but I can't tell if that's sarcasm or not. Anyway, they thought she was dead. And
tough to get tone in a comic.
they thought she was dead, and she's like, oh yeah, and I thought Jabba had a huge bounty on your head. And he's like, yeah, well, we've all heard things, I guess. No, just gonna skip right past that. There's a lot
You're in.
There's a lot of innuendo about blasters before he gives her the job.
Oh, nice.
The next person to enter is a balding old man
Oh boy, Mike is just.
with a goatee and a mustache.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing rags, but he has a lightsaber tucked into his belt.
What?
And he identifies himself as Don Juan Quixote of the Jedi Knights.
Oh my god.
He just wants to join whatever holy mission Han is on so he may continue to be worthy of the name of Jedi Knight.
Don Quixote.
Don Juan Quixote.
Don Juan Quixote. Hold on.
Han thinks he's crazy because he doesn't really seem to understand that the Jedi are extinct and just identifies himself as a Jedi Knight, but he thinks, this guy's not going to get in the way too much, so I'll make him swear to uphold the Republic and serve as a defender of the right and so forth. And he does, and the guy's very happy to take the job. Sorry, you had a question?
Oh, me? Oh, well, I had a question about a guy who was calling himself Don Juan Quixote.
Yeah.
And a Jedi Knight.
Yes.
These are all things that are true?
Yeah.
So the guy was just like, yeah, you know what, Don Quixote. There's a Don Quixote guy, his name's also Don Juan Quixote.
He looks exactly like Don Quixote, too.
Does he ever do any Don Juaning in this comic?
Well, Jay, you'll just have to keep listening, won't you?
Man.
Outside, where people are waiting to get in, the lizard guy shows up. He heard that the new guy in town was hiring for a job.
This is the guy they got into a fight with,
Yes.
though, right? Okay.
And he just wants money so he can get off planet. He shoves his way past a 6-foot-tall green rabbit.
Okay.
And the rabbit man, who sort of is like, hey, man, get back in the line.
Hey, man, I'm a 6-foot rabbit. Get back in this line.
He asks very politely with big sort of Disney-style eyes that Chaykin draws. He politely asks the lizard man to haul his wart-covered carcass back to the end of the line. He doesn't. The lizard man calls him a rodent a couple times.
Is it because he delivered the line so adorably?
And the rabbit guy beats up the lizard guy and kicks him down the stairs.
Oh, wow.
And says, I'm more than, I'm not a rodent. He says, I'm more what you'd call your basic lepus carnivorous. A man-eating, rockin' rabbit to you, Junior.
Wow. Mike, what is it again? A rockin' ridin'...
A meat-eating, rocket-riding rabbit.
Wow.
He's green. The rabbit man is named Jackson. You can call me Jax for short, which I ain't.
This is the best super team of all time.
The last two recruits are a young boy named Jim, with 2 M's, who calls himself the Star Killer Kid. Because at some point, someone at Marvel was like, wait, hang on, George, there was a character in the first draft named Star Killer.
That looked just like George Lucas?
No. There was a character named Star Killer that you didn't use, you moron. Which has happened in every version of Star Wars.
Wow.
Eventually someone comes along and is like, oh yeah, you should use the name Star Killer for something. That name's awesome.
And then wasn't Skywalker the George Lucas character?
No, it was like the Obi-Wan character.
Yeah, I think so, but I think his name was Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're on the same page.
I don't think... Who's the George Lucas character?
Mike, there's a 6-foot green rabbit in the story. We've got to focus up.
The kid, the Star Killer Kid, also has a robot with tank treads named FE9Q, who Jim talks about like he's a pet or works for him. FE doesn't seem to think that he is Jim's droid. Just sort of, he's a tractor robot. Seems a little annoyed with Jim and his overzealous attitude. He follows him around, though. So, like, I don't know, they have a weird pairing.
That is a weird setup.
Han is fine with Effie, because he's like, we gotta use another droid. But Jim's an overeager farm boy with a blaster he's barely used, and Han wants to know, why should I bring you? And Jim's been stuck on this planet his whole life. He just wants a chance to make something of himself, and Han's like, you remind me of someone else.
Very interesting.
We cut away to them, but we do not have time to talk about the Luke subplot.
What's going on with Luke?
So we'll just skip it. Han says, yeah, all right, Jim, I'll bring you. I'll teach you how to use your blaster. The next day, he gathers the recruits, and before he can even tell them what the job is, the Cloud Racers show up. They were led there by that lizard man.
Oh,
he needed money from somebody. He didn't really care who paid.
Now, that's just a sore loser.
We learned his name is Warto.
So the bunny was accurate. Didn't he say that he was like a wart-covered
He
lizard?
is wart-covered. He is like very lumpy. He's obviously itching for a fight, but Sergei X...
Is it because he's itching because he got so many warts?
I don't know. I'm calling him, I don't know, Sergei X. It's SERJI-X.
Sure.
I'll just switch back and forth. He wants to meet Solo under the flag of truce. He's willing to pay Solo to walk away and to leave the town to their own fates. And Solo says that while Sergei X can pay more, the townsfolk are paying all they can. That's the best pay Solo's ever had.
Aww.
Yeah.
Han Solo.
It's almost directly a line that Yul Brynner says.
Oh, really?
I watched Magnificent Seven this weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, then.
It's uncanny. And he says Sergei X can't match that price. X, he mocks Han and his group. Jim gets insulted, pulls out his blaster. Amazia disarms him. And Sergei X mocks them some more for fighting amongst themselves immediately. The Cloud Riders ride off. I didn't describe Sergei X. He has a big black mustache.
Of course.
And a big scar across his face.
Yep.
He looks like an Old West character.
That
he
checks
looks
out.
like Eli Wallach, basically, from Magnificent. Not a lot, but enough.
Close enough.
We jump over to issue 9, Showdown on a Wasted World. The 8 heroes ride banthas out of the village. Banthas are apparently the only beast of burden in this comic.
Yeah, apparently.
And they are all over this comic, and they're reasonably fast, weirdly, like when they need to be. They're like horses.
A lot of promotions for banthas going on.
Don Juan Quixote's name spelling gets changed, but
The what?
It does change back in the next issue.
Did someone forget? They're like, Quixote, that has how many I's or X's in it?
Yeah, basically.
whatever.
He's now in armor and wearing a lance, or wielding a lance in his
Okay,
hand.
so they're just really doubling down on this Don Quixote thing.
100%, but he also has the lightsaber still.
So he has a lance
Uh-huh.
and a lightsaber.
Yes.
He didn't think a laser sword was enough.
True.
Okay. I'm liking this guy. I'm liking his choices.
They see these crops that are under attack by high hounds, which are basically harpies. Think of them as harpies.
So they got wings and everything?
They got wings. They're basically like giant birds with human faces.
Creepy.
They fight them off. Han rescues a local girl who's dressed a lot like Ursula Andress in Dr. No, but without the knife or knife fighting skills of any kind.
Okay.
She's just useless. By the way, Han is terrible at one-liners in this
Really?
comic because he saves the girl and he shoots this high hound in the face, and it's like 2 feet away from him, and so like most of it explodes.
Of course.
And he says, "Here, Stoneface, try chewing on a laser beam for a while. Not that it'll be too easy with no teeth, or for that matter, no head."
Wow. That's a very long one-liner.
Like you had like you had it with the first sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
You did not need to keep elaborating. He's very dead.
Because you are dead, and you are no longer here, and my name is... Damn it, I should stop now.
Han and his crew ride in town. This is actually the town that Jim is from. It's the reason he's anxious to get out of town and get off the planet.
Oh, he must be excited to go back.
Not at all.
Oh.
Han still has the local girl on his bantha, and the town leader spokesman Onsho comes out and thanks Han for saving Mary, his daughter. And Han's like, "Oh yeah, let me let you down. No, sorry. Good to just wanted to get you. Sorry, should have let you down earlier." Very quickly stops the flirting. Han spends the night preparing the town for the attack, but Mary's grandfather interrupts Han and tries to talk to to him. He says the town doesn't need the help of Han and his friends. Why shed the life fluids of your friends when there's a simpler solution to my people's problem? A mystical solution I once beheld in my youth. Han will not listen, so the old man tells Mary to go take refuge from Sergei X while the grandfather goes to do what he was born to do. Alone.
Is he gonna force them out?
We'll
Get
see.
it?
So, one of the locals tells Han that the old man thinks of himself as a mystic, a shaman capable of summoning some legendary monster to save our city.
Oh boy.
Han says
That's not what I thought he was gonna do.
Han says they're not going to take him up on that offer unless they're completely out of blaster shots.
I like how he was like, you don't want to shed your lifeblood for this. I'm just gonna summon a monster to deal with it.
And it's right around that time the Cloud Riders arrive. They fly in firing lasers. Sergei even says he wanted to top his entrance from last year.
That's good that he's keeping score, and he's building a brand, Mike.
He is.
Wants to improve it year over year.
It's important. He asks for the tribute that they've clearly been saving up for him, and that includes the cream of your crop, who just reached the age I like them. What's her name? Mary.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all.
Yeah, and it's the girl who Han kind of likes.
Yeah.
So obviously he takes it poorly. The team attacks the Cloud Riders. Effie, the robot, drags a speeder down to the ground with telescopic arms.
Ooh, cool.
And shoves the pilot right into Chewie, who quickly, off camera, that guy's dead forever.
The robot knew what was up. He was like,
Yeah.
if I just give people to this giant bear creature, they'll be dead.
He realizes, Chewbacca and I make a really great team. Then he sees an outlaw about to shoot Jim in the back, and he jumps in the way of the blaster shot.
Oh, Effie.
And is obliterated.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's destroyed.
Just a whole droid just explodes?
Smashed.
Oh, Effie.
Ameza gets surrounded, but Don Juan is actually able to use the lightsaber fairly effectively.
I would hope so.
He has a yellow blade.
He is one of the most important Jedi Knights of Star Wars canon.
He then gets shot in the back and drops.
Oh, no.
Mary's grandfather is not far from the battle. He's yelling and chanting so everyone can hear him, and they're just trying to ignore him. And he's apparently completely either oblivious or does not care, unmoved by the battle around him.
Dude, he's focusing on that monster calling.
Then his chanting ends, and he says, "Hear me, slumbering one. I beg you to awaken as you did in decades past. Our minds are now linked together as one. Emerge from your bedchambers of stone. Save us whose ancestors once worshipped you."
You can't see this, but my fingers are crossed for Cthulhu so hard right now.
A giant lizard monster pops out of the mountain.
That's amazing. Wait, is it Godzilla?
It's not unlike Godzilla.
Oh, boy.
So
the writers, did they just take a bunch of pop culture and literary references and just spill them into a bowl? And we're like, what do we got? Well, we've got The Hero's Journey. We've got a couple lizards. We've got Don Quixote. We've got Godzilla. We've got the Magnificent Seven. How are we going to make this work?
Issue 10, Behemoth from the World Below.
Ooh.
Sergei X has heard stories about this monster when he was a kid, and he knows that if they don't deal with it, it's not just going to go away. It's not just going to stop attacking things.
Right.
That-
Or if you have a giant moth for it to fight, it'll also sometimes kill it and then go away.
But he knows that if it doesn't stop, that means no more tribute from the village, no more female amusements.
Skipping.
He tries taking it on, but some of his men are already swatted out of the sky. Also, the monster shoots a laser out of its forehead. But it's not targeting Solo's people, it's just focusing on the Cloud Riders.
Oh.
It is also throwing rocks at the speeders, so if Solo's people aren't careful, there are some close calls, is what I'm saying.
Wow. It's a very effective lizard creature. It's
Yes.
got lasers. It's got opposable arms that it can throw rocks with.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Some of the Cloud Riders want to retreat, but Sergei X is starting to take this kind of personally. He's making it like a white whale sort of situation. And
Whoa, that escalated fast.
And he still has a mood to get his hands on Mary. So he tells his men to fight until the monster is dead. Also, Don Juan is apparently fine. He's just standing.
He's back up again?
He's 100%. He's just standing around. He does say.
Look, they know a good spin-off series when they see one. Don Juan is going to do something amazing.
And his spelling goes back to the way it used to be.
Oh, nice. He's been reborn. It's like The Matrix. He was, John Anderson before, and now he is Neo.
Tom Anderson.
Yeah. That was the first one. It was John Anderson, he died. Tom Anderson, now he's Neo.
But he mentions that his armor is designed to protect him from the blaster fire, but it won't hold up against a behemoth like that.
I don't think most things do.
No. Han wants to leave the monster alone until it finishes with the outlaws, because
That's a pretty good play.
Yeah.
I would also do the same thing.
Sergei X, at this point, he's essentially out of men. But he...
Because his solution was throw the men at the giant monster till it dies?
All the men who are at arm length.
Yeah, that was smart. But we have these things called blasters. Maybe we should take a little distance.
But he sees the old man shouting on the ground. He remembers hearing this old man talk about the monster. He realizes this man is controlling the monster.
Oh boy.
So he starts speeding at the old man, and the narration tells us that Sergei X never knows whether or not he makes impact with the man or not. The monster crushes them both.
Oh no!
Yeah, there was a miscalculation there, and now that monster's off the leash.
Oh no.
It kills the rest of the Cloud Riders, but it's not done.
Sad face.
And it's not especially careful about who or what it crushes at this point. It's getting a little rowdier. Amaiza says that they got paid to stop some outlaws, not fight a monster. So, like...
That's fair. That was probably in the contract. By the way, I'm pretty sure we're not going to have to fight a giant monster. I know I don't normally clarify this on contracts, but I felt the need to add it as an addendum here.
Solo points out, A, they did not stop the outlaws, the monster did. B, they have not been paid yet. So if they want money, they need to save the town.
True.
And C, he's starting to like some of the people in the town. Like... I don't know.
No one in particular.
Yeah, just generally.
Yeah.
Jackson, like any loose cannon, your Rocket Raccoon type,
right,
charges into battle while everyone else debates.
Or Rocket Rabbit in this case.
In this case. But the monster shoots lasers at him and throws rocks at him, so he has to duck behind cover with the rest of the gang. They start debating a plan, but Don Juan thinks to himself that slaying a dragon like this requires the skills of one trained in the Holy Order of the Jedi Knights.
Oh man, I knew this was going to happen. I'm so excited that Don Juan gets to fight this.
Han thinks he has an idea to stop the creature, but he'll need Don Juan's lightsaber. Don, where are you? And they see him out wandering towards the beast. Not wandering, walking very purposely.
Does he still have the lance?
He has the lightsaber, not the lance.
Okay. They weren't going to get it exactly, but that's fine.
Well, he's also not riding a bantha.
Right, that's true.
He's not riding anything. He draws the creature away from Solo's folks so he can face it alone. And he hears them all shouting like, no, you're going to get yourself killed. He's going to get himself killed. And he says, you hear their jeers, Behemoth? They think Don Juan Quixote to be too old for the noble art of combat. Yet even one so advanced in years is still as one with the Force, which permits even these stiff and weary bones to evade whatever hell-spawned bolts you may hurl at me. And he starts actually dodging the energy bolts.
He is my favorite character in this story right now.
He approaches the creature, and the creature starts like bucking its head, like it's frustrated or angry as the lightsaber gets closer.
Ooh.
And Solo's like, yeah, that was my hunch. I really wish it was not in the hands of an old man.
Yeah.
Like really, like anyone with speed. And Hedgie, the Spiner, jumps down to go save Don Juan. And he shouts like, look, Don Juan, you might have stumbled onto a lightsaber, and it might have warped your mind into thinking you were a real Jedi, but you can't keep dodging these beams. It's like, wait, why would you phrase it like that?
Yeah, what?
But
you should be more like, hey, get over here.
Don Juan doesn't back down, so Hedgie starts throwing spines at the creature. The energy fires more energy blasts. He's not hitting Don Juan, though.
Ooh.
Although, at this point, Hedgie dies, but it's not clear from the art or narration. I realized at the end, because in a few pages, like, I'm looking, wait, where's Hedgie? And I looked back, I was like, oh, he got killed on that page.
That's so
That
sad.
was not clear at all.
There was even no clarification.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's kind of sad.
Poor Hedgie.
Han thinks the lightsaber is interfering with the monster's beams. Even a dumb brute like that can sense the lightsaber is a threat to its life. That's why the closer Don Juan gets, the crazier the behemoth acts. But Don Juan is a slow old man, so
he's taking a little bit of time to get there.
Han would be faster, and before he can go out onto the battlefield, Chewie just picks him up under his arm and just charges into the battlefield with Han.
Like a football, basically?
Like a football, basically.
That's awesome.
Chewie sets Han down next to Don Juan. Han grabs the lightsaber, which Don Juan calls blasphemy.
Right? Because, well, as we know, as I said, he is a famous Jedi Knight, and that would be crazy.
Han once heard a story of a Jedi killing a creature like this. Something about the light blade counteracting the energy that powers the monster's fin bolts.
Weird stories smugglers trade with each other.
He charges in, he stabs the creature in the chest, and the creature goes berserk. Han leaves the blade, dives for cover. The creature fires energy at everything around it. Then it freezes, convulses, crackles with energy, and disintegrates.
Wow. Han Solo killed a giant monster with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like fan fiction, right?
It is. Well, it is fan fiction.
Yeah.
The heroes stand around in the aftermath, and Jax says he just wants to get paid, and Jim, too, he's happy to leave this rock at last. But then Mary approaches him, tells him how brave he was. And he said she never even looked at him before, and she says she's looking now.
Are we sure they're not brother and sister? Like twins, maybe?
They're both blonde. She's hoping to change...
Han's like, this always happens to me.
She's hoping to change his mind about leaving the village, and she thanks Han with a kiss on the cheek for saving the village and for bringing out the man in the Star Killer kid.
Oh, wow.
Han, Chewie,
Star Killer,
Jackson, Amazia, and Don Juan ride off, and Han thinks about how he didn't get the girl, but she's a bit young. But now he's got some cash, and at least for a moment, he got to feel what it was like to be a Jedi Knight.
That's a great story.
Yep.
It had a giant 6-foot green bunny.
Yep.
It had a hedgehog panther that died off screen or
True.
off panel.
Yep.
And it had a Don Quixote Jedi Knight called Don Juan Quixote.
Which I think we can all agree is the standout.
Is the standard. I mean, he still lived, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are we certain that he doesn't have a solo spin-off series?
We are not.
We need to figure this out, guys. If you know
I
that
feel-
Don Juan Quixote went to have his own solo series run, let us know. And if he didn't, guess what, New Marvel Comics?
We're hireable.
We're hireable, and we will write Don Juan Quixote right now. So, guys, that was our main segment.
And how?
And that'll take us right into our game, Would You Rather? All right, this is our game, Would You Rather? This is like the standard game of Would You Rather, except we insert superheroes into it.
Or supervillain.
Or supervillains. So I will name 2 things, and Mike and I will have to decide which one we would rather do with a little bit of that comic twist. Now, Mike, would you rather be in a passionate romance with a supervillain or a loveless relationship with a superhero?
Oh, passionate romance with a supervillain, I think.
Are you sure? Because you're in a passionate romance with a supervillain, and they're probably going to get arrested and go to jail at some point or get killed.
Yeah, but if I'm in a loveless relationship with a superhero, I'm not really getting anything out of it.
That's true, but you might eventually, move
Get
on.
killed?
With a loveless superhero?
I am in a relationship with a superhero. I'm going to die.
Well, I present you... What? Lois Lane. Lois Lane is almost a very perfect example of being in a loveless relationship with a superhero.
Name one other.
Mary Jane. I don't think Mary Jane got killed.
Mary Jane got divorced with the devil.
That's fine, but she didn't get killed.
True.
So there you go.
She's no longer in a relationship. They broke up.
See, Mary Jane and Spider-Man had a pretty good thing.
If you're
though.
dating a superhero, one of 2 things will happen. You will break up or die.
Look, all of Daredevil's relationships were very good, and they ended all on good terms.
Oh boy, Daredevil. You went to Daredevil.
Probably the worst.
For those listeners,
the worst example.
Daredevil had one girl who got killed by Bullseye.
Yep.
Another girl who got tricked into thinking she had AIDS and then got killed by Bullseye.
Yep.
One girl,
Oh, boy.
he married a blind woman who was driven insane.
Mm-hmm.
He hooked up with a private investigator whose parents filed a restraining order against him.
Yep. But here's the thing, as in a loveless relationship, maybe you'll move on and you'll find a good one afterwards, right?
Then I'm going to break up with that person.
But with a passionate romance with a supervillain, you might be an accomplice. You might go to jail. Here's the thing. Not only will you not be in a romance or a relationship later on, but you might be in jail forever. Think about Harley Quinn as the example,
First of all,
right?
I'm clearly not going to be in jail forever because it's comics.
Right. Okay. It's a very good point.
I will actually, I'm the accomplice. I might be in jail forever.
You might be in jail forever.
I actually
you might be a
no.
one-off that they tried out, and it just
I
didn't
might be in
happen.
jail for like 10, 15 years, maybe 20.
And then, Grant Morrison will bring you back as the primary supervillain in a 20-issue long story.
Someone will remember me at some point.
Exactly. Like, oh, no one used Mike Christensen. Sorry, Mike Crystal Pantson. But
Oh, boy.
gotta bring you back. But I
That
guess
is my supervillain name.
That is your supervillain name. But I mean, Harley Quinn, for example, that's a tragic example. That's a passionate love with someone with a romance of supervillain that, in certain ways, is completely destructive relationship for her.
Sure. Just don't date the Joker.
Okay.
I'm sure the
What if you're
Penguin
in a-
knows some very lovely
Well, here's
women.
the thing. So the love interests of supervillains don't often die, but the love interests of superheroes often die.
Yeah.
That's very strange.
If you think about it, what really happens to the accomplice? 9 times out of 10, they serve a little jail time.
Right.
And you have this passionate relationship with someone who's creative, who's funny, probably.
They're always trying on new outfits. They're always building new hideouts.
Yeah, they have a lot of
New
hobbies.
locales. You're probably going to live in a tropical volcano.
Sure.
You're probably going to live in an asteroid.
I might visit Mars.
That's true.
I
Definitely going to
might
visit
see
Mars.
Atlantis.
You're also going to meet a lot of superheroes.
Or supervillains.
Or supervillains, too.
Yeah.
I wonder what their conventions are like.
Murdery.
Probably. What if they were just super corporate-y structured, everybody's walking around with name tags, going into little conference rooms, and they just have little coffee stations?
I really would rather be with someone passionate. This is honestly just general why
Mike Crystal Pantson, a true romantic.
why be in a loveless relationship?
True.
What is the incentive?
I mean, the incentive. I was gonna say safety, and then I remembered that all of them
that
die.
we don't have that.
Yeah, we don't have that.
I will get fridged, sir.
I mean, I guess there's a little bit of if you're into a glory story, right? Like maybe you're an actual superhero yourself because maybe you're Mr. Miracle. I mean, they're not in a loveless relationship.
Not by any means.
Big Barda and Mr. Miracle, but I mean, like, you could be
They're
also...
one of the best relationships in comics.
Oh, yeah, they're awesome. But you could be a superhero as well. That's an opportunity. You're pulled into, like,
So
Justice League-ness or Avenger League-ness.
I have options.
Yeah.
Why would I stay with someone who I'm not passionate about?
But you might, have, like, some
Learn-
Wolverine on the side.
Then I should just be with Wolverine.
But you're in that loveless marriage with Mr. Fantastic.
Look, if it was passionate with the superhero...
It's passionate. Oh, it's
If
passionate.
it was passionate with the superhero, I would take it. But it's loveless.
That's the thing. It's loveless, so you might... I mean, there might be a little bit of fun in there, too. That's the thing. You might have those late nights with Wolverine or
But if I'm
Invisible
hanging out-
Woman, whatever your speed is.
If I'm seeing a side to Two-Face that no one else sees...
Oh, that's true. You've seen that third face.
Yeah.
No one gets that third face.
That was deliberate. But if I'm like being romanced by Poison Ivy or something, but like she's not murdering me for whatever reason.
Right.
These are both bad examples.
You're a plant.
I'm a plant.
You're a plant in this situation.
I'm a plant in
That's
this
the
scenario.
only way that would ever work.
If I'm dating Catwoman and it's passionate and fiery
Then you're
and
probably
amazing,
Batman.
well then the alternative to that is
See,
dating.
Catwoman is a really nice medium. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good point, Mike. I like that. Because Catwoman,
I think I've
she's
been-
also a villain, but also not a villain.
I think I've been nailing it the whole time.
You've been
actually,
crushing this one.
I don't know. There's a reason why people are drawn to supervillains.
Yeah.
They have an air about them that is,
There is a bit of a sexual energy. There's something
They're
exciting
magnetic.
there. Yeah, absolutely. For a person that constantly rallies these henchmen around them to go on these terrifyingly dangerous missions, and most of them have been previously killed.
Yeah, doomed to fail.
Yeah, you have to have some type of charisma, some type of magic juice that you're
Yeah.
rallying all these people.
I mean, come on. If I get to spend a passionate, wonderful night with MODOK,
Oh, yeah.
then I know where my heart lies.
Who doesn't? But yeah, I think anyone who gets the love of MODOK has really found a inner peace and true purpose in life.
Yeah. What about you, though, Jay?
You know what? You've made an excellent point. You never do, but this time I think you've made an excellent point. I think I would. I kind of knew. The more we've talked about this, I kind of knew going into it. I've always kind of had a thing for villains, anyways. Yeah, I mean, loveless. Who wants to be in that? I mean, it's almost like being dead. It's like there's nothing passionate in your life, and even though it might be fast and quick, and you might be locked in some super facility in the negative zone for, I don't know, 10 issues, who knows? There's so much excitement there. And, you know, just forgetting about the whole morality bit of being involved with a supervillain, it's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
And anybody, if you disagree with us, please let us know, because we'd love to know about your love life.
Yes.
And the true identity of any superheroes, because that would be beneficial to us.
Yeah, I mean, just, if you happen to know where
our loved ones,
where Spider-Man works or lives and where all of his loved ones.
Totally let us know.
I'm actually looking to collect the Green Lanterns, so if you guys
That's good.
know
Definitely.
where they are.
Well, guys, that was episode 42 of Because Comics. We have decided definitively that we would be terrible, terrible people and rather be in a passionate relationship with supervillains.
It's a good thing we're going with like comic book supervillains, because if it was like
it was real life supervillains or regular other drama
horrible
supervillains,
human beings,
yeah, it would not be as acceptable.
Yeah,
But,
it's like oh, I'd love to spend a passionate night with Hannibal Lecter. It's
but
like, no.
if it's Clock King or Crazy Quilt, I mean, those guys are fun. And hey, Galactus, I get to see the universe, so I mean, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, you're gonna be his herald, man.
Oh man, that's really cool. You know what? Yes, definitely Galactus. Guys, we'll be posting a new episode every other week. If you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. Of course, you can email us any questions at becausecomics@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr, all at Partial Arc. And be sure to check out more content from our comic boy wonder, Mike Christensen, at partialarc.com, where he writes articles every Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks for listening, and remember,
Princess Leia doesn't give Chewbacca a medal, and she calls him a walking carpet, even though Wookiees are a separate species that people know about. Is Princess Leia a Wookiee racist?
I think she is. She doesn't give him a medal?
No. Oh, this is well documented. A lot of people have complained about this. He does not get a medal.
She's a racist.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. You are late to this
Do you
party,
think this is
sir.
going to be addressed in episode 7?
Because comics.